Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
PriceRite is your one-stop shop with something for everyone. Household goods for kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Aisles of bulk groceries at value prices. A complete selection of fresh meat and produce. And an extensive range of frozen items to cover every meal. Wines from around the world and beer and liquor at discount prices. Visit PriceRite at our 2 locations in Pembroke and Warren. There's always something new and always something for everyone.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Friday, December the 21st. I'm Jasmine Patterson, and thanks for joining us. Police are thanking the public for its cooperation after officers made a very large bust at several homes in the Pembroke area. The dramatic police raids on Wednesday and Thursday yielded the seizure of 3 guns, plus what police are describing as a large quantity of drugs, PriceRite reports.
Police Commissioner Stephen Corbishley addressing the seizure at a news conference and said it represented the most significant firearms recovery. And as for the drugs recovered, they were valued at $1 million.
I'd like to thank all the officers who are involved in this operation. Their hard work, attention to detail and dedication has yielded a significant result, not for the BPS, but for communities in Bermuda. And ultimately, our local community is a beneficiary. I'd also like to thank the community. We receive repeated information from them, their concerns, and very good information that we've been able to build into our operation over the past couple of days.
Mr. Corbishley keenly aware that the large seizure by his officers does not mean police will now sit on their laurels.
We are an intelligence-led operation, and the fruits of activity over the past couple of days is testament to that fact. The communities where these firearms were found are good communities. They are communities with different people, seniors, young people, families, law-abiding. Where we worked in the past couple of days is not representative of those communities.
The top cop going to great lengths to stress that Bermuda remains a safe place in which to live despite the seizure of guns.
There are few firearms in Bermuda and there are few people that use them, and our activity has addressed some of that matter over the past 48 hours. But I want people to feel confident in the Bermuda Police Service, confident that they can contact us, confident that we will keep it confidential, and confident that we will do something about it.
However, police were not able to provide a definitive link between the drugs and guns to the island's gang scene.
It's too early to say at the moment. The process of what will take place is the firearms will be examined for DNA, so obviously we can identify those parties that may have handled the firearms, and also we would do ballistics inquiries as well, which may connect it to previously unsolved firearms incidents or indeed murders.
Commissioner Corbishley clarified police had executed several search warrants.
Certainly the ones that we've highlighted, 2 of the firearms were found at the same location and the other firearm found close by.
2 or 3?
Yes. More than 2 or 3. There are a number of different activities. And also, we haven't stopped. We will carry on.
PriceRite reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
And police have so far arrested 1 person in connection with their investigation. The drugs seized are suspected to include cannabis and crack cocaine. Well, 2 British teens have been convicted of the murder of Bermudian student Larico Steed. 17-year-old Larico, who resided in Nottingham with his family, was stabbed and died 5 days later in a UK hospital in February this year. Out of 5 people charged with the murder, 19-year-old Kasharn Campbell and 18-year-old Christian Jameson were found guilty, while 3 other teens, 18-year-old Ramel Campbell-Miller, a 17-year-old boy, and a 16-year-old girl were found not guilty of murder, but to manslaughter by a jury. The identity of the minors have not been revealed due to their age. The Crown argued that the 16-year-old lured Larico to a playground area where he was ambushed and chased by the other boys. He was later discovered by a woman on her doorstep with stab wounds. He was taken to hospital but later died of his injuries. The 5 will be sentenced in January. And we'll have more for you after this short break, including all the latest weather news. Stay with us.
Treat yourself and your loved ones this Christmas at Diamonds International in Dockyard. Sensational bracelets like this 14 Diamond Dazzler, Asian-inspired jewelry by John Hardy, and Bremont Aviation watches. During the holidays, there is 15 to 75% off all merchandise, and this watch as a free gift with every purchase. Plus 5% of all shopping proceeds will be donated to the LCCA charity. There is nothing comparable on the island to the truly outstanding collection at Diamonds International in Dockyard.
You can count on us.
Your choice, potatoes, 5-pound bag, just $4.89. Fresh Purdue chicken drumsticks at $1.89 per pound. Lay's chips, 6.5-ounce bag, hot price, $3.49. Tama macaroni 500-gram bag, only $1.69. Yoplait yogurt, 6-ounce tub, hot price, 99 cents. Have a very Merry Christmas from the marketplace.
You can count on us.
At Argus, our interest is you. Each of you. Around here, we know that when two people seem the same, they can have very different insurance needs. For their health, home, work, and future. Which is why we take the time to get to know you as an individual, so we can provide insurance coverage that fits your life. Because after all, our interest is you.
Thanks for staying with us. In a rare interview, the Speaker of the House, Dennis Lister, shares his views on 2018 and thoughts about the year ahead. Mike Sharp reports.
Wow, time sure does fly. House Speaker Dennis Lister has been in the hot seat replacing Randy Horton for over 12 months now.
So I was appointed Speaker on September 8th, so it's been a year and 2 months roughly.
Well, how do you look back at that first year replacing Mr. Horton?
I find it to be very interesting in that when I walked into the job, and in fact I took the job because I was coached by so many people, not in the political circle, but those in the public who were saying that they were looking for me to come in as somebody who is senior, somebody who had been around a long time, and understood how we need to be functioning as a parliament. Not politically one side against the other, but all of us in Parliament function at a level that represents who we are and what we're sent there to do, and that's to represent people, not ourselves.
There have been numerous debates in 2018 that he had to cool things down.
And some interesting ones. Some have, I should say this, none have gone as long as the old days. We've been very good at trying to make sure we stay on point, have people speak to the issues that need to be spoken to, rather than getting sidetracked in personal or other agendas that don't need to be part of that debate, so we can sort of finish up a lot sooner than what we've done historically, so to speak. So I think members are appreciating the fact that our sessions are more pointed, which gets us out a little earlier, so they don't have to stay there all those wee hours into the night.
There has been the call to alter the code of conduct to give women more respect in the House of Assembly. But he first chose to speak on oversight committees.
Let me walk away from that comment and address it in this way. As a new speaker, one of the roles that I have to play is to make sure that our Parliament is up to date and functioning at a level that meets benchmarks from elsewhere. And you just saw we named the oversight committees. The oversight committees are one of those committees that come under the Parliament, but it also looks at the fact that we need to be making sure that Parliament is functioning in a way that is modernized in how other parliaments are functioning. You see, oversight committees are something that have been established in other areas, other jurisdictions, as another means for Parliament, the Parliament, to have committees that can look into functions of government and keep government current in that sense. So the oversight committees follows that trend.
In part two of this interview with the Speaker of the House, Dennis Lister, he will talk about the code of conduct, also his son as a politician, and Christmas and New Year's wishes. And I'm Mike Sharp with Bermuda Broadcasting News.
The Fiscal Responsibility Panel released its latest report the other week. Their top concern was the island's shrinking workforce and rapidly aging population. On current trends, the panel said Bermuda is heading for a downward spiral of demographic and economic decline. Tony Waterman recently caught up with Andreas Jobs. He's currently working at the World Bank, but a few years ago, he was the chief economist at the Bermuda Monetary Authority. She started off by asking him for his assessment of the economy.
Debt has the incline we've seen in the rise in gross government debt and the debt service capacity diminishing. I think we've seen a slightly more benign picture than we saw a few years ago. At the same time, of course, the tax base could be improved. So overall, from a fiscal perspective, I think we're at a critical juncture where the government has to make very tough calls as to how to proceed going forward, whether we'll see more spending for the benefit of more social inclusion, or whether we'll turn on the screws and take the scissors to some important budget items which might be controversial.
A lot of the conversation around how to manage this debt pile and how to service this debt and bring it down to manageable levels really focuses on cutting spending or raising revenues. How do they tackle the productivity part of that equation?
Yeah, I think, again, when we look at such a challenge, we tend to be very focused on the short term. And obviously, it'd be easy to slash the budget, ignoring the fact that a lot of investment carries a lot of productivity gains that are embedded. So we call that embedded productivity gains, especially when it comes to investment in social and physical capital. Social capital, I mean education, health, and physical capital, the resilience of infrastructure. So the more efficiently people can move from A to B, the more easy it can bring in tourists via the airport. That, of course, helps productivity. Keeping a perspective and combining both, making sure that the budget is sustainable without increasing the debt pile exists already, but at the same time investing strategically, preferably in a budget-neutral way, in infrastructure that has productivity gains for the future.
You can catch that entire interview on the Bermuda Broadcasting YouTube page. Now, this morning, the Minister of National Security, Wayne Keynes, and Gang Violence Coordinator, Pastor Leroy Bean, took action to paint over gang graffiti that had been spray painted on a residence wall in the area of North Terrace in Pembroke. Minister Keynes said in a press release the neighbors were very upset. He adds, "We could not stand by and allow the graffiti to stand over the Christmas holiday, so we borrowed clothes from a neighbor and painted the wall." Now let's go to the AccuWeather headquarters for the latest weather report.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
This AccuWeather forecast here on ZBM is brought to us by our friends at the BF&M Insurance Group, and we have a front on the map off to the west, and this will bring some showers in the early part of our weekend, the weekend leading up to Christmas. And it's a big weather time here as we are keeping a close eye on the forecast and how that may or may not impact some of your weekend plans. We have some bright spots in the forecast, but also a few hurdles out there. Here is the satellite estimated rainfall, and you can see the showers are out there. They're scattered showers well to our west. We're still dry, but those showers will be marching in when that front draws near. Temperatures right now are a little milder than they were yesterday at this time. We're at around 71 degrees across most of the island. Humidity is fairly high, 75 to 80%. The wind is very active, 20 to 25 knot winds. Most of us closer to 20 knots as opposed to 25 knots, but it is very breezy out there. Water temp 67. It's been dropping a bit and ever so slowly falling. On the inside, we have 2 to 3 foot waves. On the outside, 7 to 11 foot waves. So because of that, a small craft warning remains in effect tonight through Saturday and into Sunday morning. So when you're out there, just be aware of the dangers for boaters. Boating weather is not going to be the best for the first 2/3 of the weekend with those big waves. High tide is coming up, 7:21 this evening. Tide goes back out at 1:20 a.m. High tide at 7:55 Saturday morning, and then low tide at 2:23 in the afternoon on Saturday. By the way, the winter solstice for the Northern Hemisphere just occurred. So officially, winter is underway in the Northern Hemisphere. We have a mostly cloudy setup tonight. Windy out there, but warm. Temperatures are not going to fall much. Tomorrow, we have a mix of sun and some clouds. Winds will gradually decrease, but showers will be increasing as the front rolls in. So here we are. This evening, we have a pretty good breeze from the southeast, and the stripe of showers will be off to our west. That will come right on through after midnight tonight. It's more of a Saturday shower situation during the day with some scattered showers at virtually any point during the day. It may be most likely in the early to mid-afternoon, but we can't rule out morning showers, and the showers may linger into the evening as well. Into the Caribbean we go with some scattered showers and thunderstorms in Jamaica, hit-or-miss showers in Barbados. Trinidad looks good. We don't have any tropical threats at this point, so that's some good news. Into eastern North America after a mild spell, record highs in Boston, Massachusetts, and places like Bridgeport, Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, and Worcester, Massachusetts on this Friday. We're going to turn much chillier and closer to average as we step into the weekend. Saturday is kind of a day of transition, still near 50 in New York, but you can see to the west, Toronto 33 with some clouds. Atlanta, a cooler 51. In fact, a rare situation where Boston will be warmer than the chillier weather in Atlanta, Georgia. London, 52 degrees on the east side of the ocean. So after the Saturday showers, Sunday, Monday look pretty good. That's Christmas Eve, Monday. Small chance for a brief shower Monday night into Tuesday, Christmas Day, a little cooler but pretty good weather out there. Wednesday, a mix of clouds and some sun as well. We'll send it back to you.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
My name is Kevin Roberts. I'm a taxi driver / ambassador. My father's with BF&M, so am I. Half of my family always seemed to be with Bermuda Fire Marine. I tried a different provider at one time, but I wasn't too happy with the competition because then it took too long to settle claims. They questioned every claim, and I never really had that problem with BF&M. I'm quite happy with it.
Who will represent the National Football League, AFC, and NFC respective conferences? The 53rd edition of the Super Bowl will be played right here on CBS Network, home of ZBM TV9 on February the 3rd, 2019. Be a part of the most exciting and thrilling game played around the world during the month of February. ZBM will bring you exclusive live coverage from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, beginning at 12:30 p.m. For more information on sponsorship, email sales@bbc.bm or call 295-2828 and ask for our sales department.
A local portrait photographer's yearly Christmas project caught the eye of CNN this week for her creative use of plastic trash found on Bermuda's beaches. Cooper Stevenson tells us all about it.
Each December for the past 5 years, photographer Meredith Andrews has challenged herself with an advent calendar project. Every day from the 1st to the 25th, she produces striking arrangements depicting the day of the week. She calls it an adventgram. And this year's theme? Plastic. Lots of it. So much plastic, in fact, that CNN took notice.
More than anything, it's not about me or the advent calendar, it's really about the ocean plastic. So the more attention that can get, the better.
It's no coincidence a Bermudian photographer is getting interviewed by CNN, though. The journalist Esson Swan is Bermudian-born. But as Mrs. Andrews says, it's about the plastic. Since she arrived back in the island some 4 years ago, she ventures out a few times a week to comb the public beaches that aren't maintained every day and cleared of trash.
I'm a little bit of an ocean plastic hoarder. So I go 2-3 times a week to the local beaches. I'm lucky enough to live close to some of them, so I'll go to the beaches and go for a walk and pick stuff up. It's at the point that if I try and take my children to the beach, they'll ask me, "Oh, Mommy, so we can pick up trash?" So just by manually collecting it and then sorting it.
The plastic she has sorted is just a fraction of the trash she's collected from Bermuda's beaches. The most common items by far are fishing gear, but of particular interest to Mrs. Andrews are those everyday items we may not think about that are floating around in the oceans in the millions.
I have found that there's more trash now than when I moved back to the island 4.5 years ago and started collecting it, or started picking it up. At first I was just picking it up, I wasn't collecting it. But then when I started finding particular items like the glow sticks and the toothbrushes, and both those items for me were fascinating because I recognize them, I use those things. And so it was saying to myself, how can I show this to other people? Like, everybody knows what a toothbrush does and recognizes that they use one. So when you see 100 of them that have been washed up on our shores, it makes you go a little bit like, oh, maybe I should think about what kind of toothbrush I'm using or how I'm disposing of it.
Mrs. Andrews says she got the idea from a fellow photographer and friend who did an advent calendar by taking pictures of numbers he found while out and about.
But I sort of took the idea and made it my own and used it as a creative challenge to every day make a representation of that day, that number. But then this year I thought, because I had been creating art out of the ocean plastic anyways, it's a big issue. You know, I have people's attention, so I thought it was great to theme it this year and use exclusively the ocean plastic.
Being out on the beaches looking for washed up plastic every week, Mrs. Andrews says she's learned that some places are better than others. The West End, for example, gets a lot more plastic washing up on shore than the South Shore. But some beaches, she says, don't need plastic to wash up at all.
There's some that I find that have a lot of local trash, and that's kind of more interesting for me. So there's someone who goes to Aswood Cove pretty much every day and loves sushi and sits down there on the beach and eats his or her sushi with chopsticks and soy sauce packets and a gray plastic bag, and they leave them there every time. I don't think I've ever been there and not found it. So for me, that's a little more interesting. Like, who is this person that's, you know, enjoying obviously the beautiful beach, but leaving their trash there?
So, hey, Aswood Cove person, pick up your sushi utensils. Stop littering. You can view all of Mrs. Andrews' photographs on her Instagram profile @MeredithPhoto. I'm Cooper Stevenson for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
And still to come, Earl Basin will have all the latest sports news in just a few minutes.
Getting ready for Christmas is all about the finishing touches.
The icing on the cake. The table neatly set. Decorations specially placed. And gifts thoughtfully wrapped. All to share with those we love. In special moments as simple as this.
Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
Colonial, where people come first.
You can count on us.
Fresh green beans, hot price only $2.69 per pound. Fresh top sirloin roast, best price around at $7.99 per pound. Dozen large white eggs, hot price $1.99. Pepperidge Farm herb stuffing, 8-ounce bags, hot price only $2.59. Save $2.20 on Arm & Hammer laundry detergent, 75-ounce bottles, hot price $9.79. Have a very Merry Christmas from the marketplace.
You can count on us.
When it's happening now, you can't beat the immediacy of radio.
Chance to hear the thoughts of acclaimed author.
No matter where you are.
I'm Darlene Livingston with Bermuda Broadcasting News.
When events are spectacular, television is by far the best media platform.
Why now this particular topic?
For sports action, well, need we say more? Broadcast reporters put elected officials on the spot, keeping them honest and accountable to voters. And they can explain things in ways we all understand.
Climbs up to 12.5%.
Broadcast news is important. We're your eyes and ears on the ground. I'm Jasmine Patterson, and thanks for joining us tonight. In good times and bad. Radio's your constant companion.
On the big station, Power 95.
And TV news is the news.
Based on what you're seeing.
And Bermuda Broadcasting is your station.
Who will represent the National Football League, AFC, and NFC respective conferences? The 53rd edition of the Super Bowl will be played right here on CBS Network, home of ZBM TV9 on February the 3rd, 2019. Be a part of the most exciting and thrilling game played around the world during the month of February. ZBM will bring you exclusive live coverage from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, beginning at 12:30 p.m. For more information on sponsorship, email sales@bbc.bm or call 295-2828 and ask for our sales department.
Turning to sports, Earl Basin has the latest.
Kamal Levrock and his Walkerville teammates went down in their latest 50-over match in Australia against PAOC.
Batting first, PAOC would score 180 for 8 in their allotted 50 overs. Levrock led the Walkerville bowling attack, returning figures of 10 overs, 3 maidens, 5 for 27. In reply, Walkerville were bowled out for 92. Levrock scored 12 off of 10 deliveries, hitting 1-4 and 1-6 in his 12-minute stay at the crease. Motorcycle racer Dakari White is quickly making a name for himself both locally and internationally. White runs down his performances in 2018 on the Spanish CIV Championship circuit.
So the first year was a bit of a surprise for sure, seeing as I just graduated university. I sort of got the opportunity through social media, just contacting a rider that I've always sort of looked up to. His name's Anthony West, and he gave me the opportunity to pursue my dreams. put me in contact with the people that I needed to speak to, and we sort of progressed through the stages that way. It was very expensive at first. We realized it wouldn't be achievable for me to do the whole season, so we decided to do half the season out of my own pocket, self-funded, just to gain some experience and really see if it's really worth me pushing and pursuing. We had a total of 4 races. My first race, I crashed out. It was a learning experience. First season on the 600, all the tracks are new to me, new championship, those types of things. But it was really good experience. I learned a lot. Second race, I improved to 4th position, so it was, sort of a boost in my confidence that okay, maybe it's, I'm here for a reason. And then in the third race, I actually got a podium. I ended up finishing third. So that was sort of like a confirming point, for me. That was, we're going to do this, like, I'm here for a reason. My team was very happy, with my progress. Every race, every time I touched the track, my times were improving. I was learning the tracks very well, And I built a lot of good relationships with people, meeting people, different people from all around the world. So this first year was really like just, a dive into the deep end and just, sink or float, sink or swim, So it ended up turning out really good.
Rachel Batchard and Magnus Reinstead are competing in the Euromad Optimus Regatta going on in Malta. After 5 races sailed, Reinstead is in 53rd place with 92 net points. This after a top finish of 10th place in the 4th race. Batchard is currently 78th with 117 net points. Batchard has a top finish of 16th, which came in the first race of the regatta. Bermuda Winter Olympic hopeful John Lejour began competing in the U.S. Selections Moguls Freestyle Skiing event hosted by the Mogul Skiing Academy. On day 1, Lejour, in a field of 55 competitors, finished 21st with a score of 67.02 on his first run. Reggie Lamb's Cambridge United's newly appointed head coach Colin Calderwood has taken charge of his first training session at the Inc. training ground. Lamb and his teammates will take on Morecambe tomorrow on the road. Bermuda Junior Golf Association's 35th annual Fecchio Cup got underway in near-perfect conditions at the Port Royal Golf Course yesterday. 14 golfers began competing in 2 divisions, with the champions to be crowned on Saturday. In the championship division, Kenny Lejour showed no signs of jet lag after arriving back from his golf academy boarding school. He jumped out to an early lead with a round of 1 under par 70. Spencer Young is the nearest challenger after a solid round of 79. Players in the Red Tee division are playing the Stableford event, with points being allocated based on the score on the hole in relation to par. Oliver Batchard has jumped out to an early lead with 24 points, but he's closely followed by Nicholas Welke, who has 20 points. Rayshawn Birch began competing in the Equestrian Center De Pelberg International Horse Jumping event in the Netherlands. Birch and Pellegrino 51 finished 29th, competing in the 1.30 meter in 2 phases Grand Prix first qualifier class. The pair clocked a clear first phase time of 55.32, and they would clock a second phase time of 31.82, but they had 4 penalty fault points. Taylor Carrick continued competing in the U.S. Junior Open Squash Championships. Carrick represented Bermuda in the boys under-19 consolation division. Carrick would take on Thomas Winston from the USA, and Carrick would need 5 games to eventually overpower his opponent 12-10, 11-13, 11-6, 6-11, 11-5. Carrick would feature again in another 5-game battle. This time he would take on Colin Little from the USA. However, Carrick would go down 9-11, 8-11, 12-10, 11-3, 12-10. Multiple Carifta Swimming Championship medalist Emma Harvey began competing at the Scottish National Short Course Open Swimming Championships. On day 1, Harvey finished 4th during the women's 50-meter backstroke preliminaries, touching the wall in a time of 28.32. Harvey would clock a final time of 28.44 to finish 4th, just missing out on a podium spot.
I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
And that's all for tonight. Happy holidays from all of us here at Bermuda Broadcasting, and have a great weekend. I'm Jasmine Patterson. Good night.
Jasmine Patterson's wardrobe and makeup is provided by Gibbons Company.
When it's happening now, you can't